At risk of waxing a touch too wildy over breakfast, the Tory party rather looked today like the unelectable in pursuit of the unconscionable. You didn't need to be Nostradamus to predict the Tories might not exactly clean up in Wakefield and Tiverton and Honiton by-elections yesterday. But even the most ardent Boris booster will be taking several very, very sharp intakes of breath at the truly catastrophic scale of disaster at those respective ballot boxes. The good people of Tiverton and Honiton provided students of political history with a new benchmark, the largest majority ever overturned in a British by-election, after Lib Dem Richard Ford won by more than 6,000 votes, in a seat where the Libs had limped in third in 2019. Poor Tory candidate Helen Hereford, shamefully unloved and unsupported by Boris and the wider party in the run-up to the by-election, locked herself in a room where she just possibly might have had a good cry. And who could blame her? In Wakefield, Labour's Simon Lightwood eased to victory with 13,166 votes to Tory Nadeem Ahmed's 8,241, a crack that big, and that soon, in the Tory blue wall makes you wonder whether the foundations were ever deep enough in the first place. Keir Starmer was of course breakfasting in Wakefield, preening ever so slightly, and claiming West Yorkshire result shows how the public have faith in the turned around and now competent Labour Party. Palpable nonsense, of course. Neither Labour nor the Lib Dems have done anything to deserve these wins. Their MPs now have seats in the Commons simply by dint of existing. This, as per all by-elections, was not a vote for either of those parties, it was a predictable protest vote. But with one very crucial difference: mid-term protest votes are usually against the ruling party's general incompetence, but this one is more personal. This protest is against one man. And no prizes for guessing. It's always difficult to draw bigger conclusions from isolated by-elections. But there does finally feel to be a whiff of fin de siècle, more accurately fin de Boris, in the air. Are the Tories unelectable right now? Yes. And they don't like that one little bit. Geoffrey Clifton Brown, a 1922 committee member, was first to get Boris in the crosshairs. The returning officers had barely paused for breath when he announced the committee was awaiting a response from the Prime Minister. Then they would decide if they needed to take steps to replace him. Take steps. It felt less like they were passing a service revolver and a bottle of port and more like they were hiring a hitman. Much chuntering this morning, in 1922 committee and beyond, about party rules on allowing a leader who survives a vote of no confidence a year's grace until another one can be called. Then of course there was Conservative Party Chairman Oliver Dowden's 5:35 a.m. resignation letter. Much has been made of how clever and nuanced the letter was. It wasn't. Dowden simply stuck the knife into Boris, who he's plainly sick of, and signed off with a big huzzah for the Conservatives. What else was he going to do? Much talk too about what an honourable man he is? Really? Because he doesn't like the boss and he doesn't like losing? I'm not for a moment questioning Mr. Dowden's honour or otherwise, of course, which I am sure is impeccable, just musung that a very very honourable man might have left the gig before this set of dreadful results. But maybe that's just me. One caveat before the crazy talk of a liblab ruling coalition starts up again: let's just remind ourselves why we are in Tiverton and Wakefield at all, because Tiverton MP Neil Parish watched porn in the House of Commons and previous Wakefield Tory MP, Imran Ahmad Khan, was jailed for child sex offences. Those sexual freak shows alone might have been enough to put you off voting Tory, Boris or no Boris. The Prime Minister is unhelpfully out of the country, triggering not inaccurate analogies with the downfall of Mrs. Thatcher, who was also out of the country as the plotters circled the wagons on her reign at number 10. Speaking to broadcasters in Kigali, Mr. Johnson said, "Voters are going through a tough time at the moment. Indeed they are, Boris, but not half as tough a time as you're about to go through."